This lecture is an overview of the conversation around protest music and combat music that we find in Chapter 3 of the book, Hip Hop in Africa, Prophets of the City and Dusty Foot Philosophers. And so this is an attempt to really kind of look at each of those concepts individually and specifically how they relate to hip hop in Africa. So protest music is probably the more common kind of music that deals with social issues, that addresses social issues. And so protest music speaks to the oppressor and describes the type of oppression. And so, it often is speaking to the state, to government, to specific political leaders. And it is seen as being cathartic, as a form of release, as a form of venting. And it also defines the issues. It defines what the problems are. And it also describes how things should be. So most songs that address social and political issues are protest songs. And so many of these songs address corruption in the state, sexism, poverty, female genital cutting, migration, racism, violence. So these are some of the topics that are often addressed. And this type of music can sometimes be encouraged by the state because it's a way of venting, but it's not necessarily a call to action. So an example of protest music is the song Mr. President by Tanzanian hip hop artist Sima the Black Philosopher. In the song, he says, degree holders, but we still unemployed. We educated, but still uninformed. We've been living in poverty for just way too long. They're making billions out of the citizens. While wanauza bamia, which means, and the people can only make money selling okra. The air thick from the stress and the fear. Maisha bora kwa kila Tanzania. We need a better life for every Tanzanian. Justice is still a tale. The traffic is still hell. But when the moon falls, you'll know daybreak will appear. The revolution and you can lend a hand or an ear. Mr. President, what is the future of Tanzania? So again, this song is addressing many of the social issues that he feels are impacting Tanzanian life, Tanzanian citizens, and is directed towards the president. The second example is by Ghanaian hip-hop artist Blitz The Ambassador and his song, The Road Less Traveled. In the song, he says, only 12 years, but his eyes reveal the pain inside. Lost both parents, army guerrillas raided the village. Rebels sent through the government, now they murder and pillage. Said he hated himself for the shit that he seen. Shot a soldier, got colder by the age of 13. Brutally murdered the people, called it revolution illusion, vicious cycle on the continent with no solution. I wonder if guns made men or men made guns, because if guns made men, then the story begins. Back in Africa with people steady living on foreign aid, this poor child could have been a doctor that's curing AIDS. Instead, he's holding a gun, giving forth to the struggle, staring at the cover of my first album, Soul Rebel. So both of those, like I said, are examples of protest music. The artists are talking about the social issues that are affecting the people, and are often, both songs are directed to the president, to the political leaders, to governments who they feel are not only able to stop these problems, but also, may be the cause of some of these problems. Now, when we look at combat music, combat music is really the next stage after protest. And so the music then becomes part of the movement, part of a political or social movement at that point. In combat music, unlike protest music, which speaks to the government, combat music speaks to the people, and it's a call to action. And its purpose is mobilization and an articulation of the plans of action. And it's often feared by those in power because it does call specifically for a call for action. And it is about creating change, not just talking about the need for change. So an example is Angolan hip hop artist Iconoclasta in his song Kuka, in which he says, hey Angolan, don't do as we do, wasting your time boozing. That's what they want. If we're drunk and alienated, we won't notice them. Taking what's ours, eating it to the bone, asking us to let go, picking my pocket, picking your pocket, and filling us with more booze. They tell us to read without ever sending us to school. Are we going to come back and still vote for Dos Santos, who was the president of Angola at that time? Then you have Kyrgyz from Senegal, who was one of the groups that were part of the Yanamar movement, and their song Das Fanal. The voter card gives you power. Choose and see where to go. In 2012, shoot a bullet to the thug. Wake up, you are sleeping. Register for your card. Move to another level. Dare to impose your charter. This is the sound of the alarm. Sharpen my weapon the night before. My voter card is my weapon. Sharpen my weapon the night before. It is what is going to wipe my tears. And so again, both Kyrgyz and the kind of class that are talking to the people, both of them are heavily engaged in grassroots movement on the ground. Both of them, as artists, as individuals, were very much involved in the social movements that emerged in both of those countries. And so their music is also a reflection of that. So again, it's not simply articulating the social issues, but it's calling for action, specific action.